Good afternoon. I'm going to continue with this Robert Greene Laws of Power series, I guess you could call it, on Law 2 today. And that one goes into friendship and enemies and what to do about both of those in the realm of power, organization, business, and the like. Law number 2, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. That's law number 2. Transgression of the law will go into a story that occurred in the Byzantine Empire. Michael III assumed throne of the Byzantine Empire, and he trusted his best friend Basilius. Then Basilius was a stable keeper with no experience in government or politics, and Michael III made the decision to choose Basilius as his counselor, as in the past Basilius proved his love and gratitude for Michael III. Now they're supposed to be friends, and Basilius in the past did save Michael's life from a wild horse, and Michael III seemed to be ever grateful for this. Basilius was, after saving Michael, sent to a fine school in Byzantium and transformed from a crude peasant to a cultured and sophisticated courtier. Basilius became Michael's chief counselor. The love that Basilius received allowed him to not only double but triple his salary, so he started making a lot more money. Soon he replaced Bardas as head of the army, and this is when stuff really started to get interesting. Fast forward a few years, Basilius has all this money and power, and he started off as a peasant that Michael appointed to his seat. Michael actually found himself in financial straits, King Michael III, and Basilius had all this money and all this power, refused to help Michael III during his financial difficulties. Some weeks after Michael approached Basilius for help, Basilius ordered his soldiers to Michael III's bedside and had him stabbed till he was no longer alive. And he then rode through Byzantium on horseback with Michael III's head at the end of a long pike, establishing Basilius's reign that had just begun. And this goes back to the law, never put too much trust in friends. Never put too much trust in friends. Now, interpretation of that transgression that I just described between Michael III and Basilius, and how Michael III appointed Basilius and Basilius later betrayed Michael. Michael III thought that Basilius had a strong sense of gratitude and admiration. Basilius wore a false smile, and he decided to outshine the master without any mercy when the master was weak. Goes back into Law 1. Basilius used Law 1. He outshined the master when he was weak. And Michael, the master, trusted a friend when he shouldn't have. When you trust a friend, you have to do it the right way. We'll go into that later. I have another, not a transgression, but an observance of the law. So a transgression is what you don't want to happen. Now we're going to observe how the law was successfully used, how the Han Dynasty turned into the Sung Dynasty. The Han Dynasty fell in AD 222, and followed by the fall of the Han Dynasty was a bloody pattern of crownings and unalivings of emperors. The crowning and unaliving pattern occurred for centuries. In 959 AD, so that's about 757 years after the Han Dynasty fell, after all the crownings and unalivings, in AD 959, Emperor Sung was appointed. Emperor Sung gave a promise to his guards and generals. He promised a life of peace instead of anxiety. The guards and generals thought Emperor Sung was going to unalive all of them and anoint his own guards and generals that he knew were trained under his rule. Emperor Sung was able to accomplish the admiration from his generals and guards. After promising riches and honor to the guards and generals, they decided to give up their commands to Emperor Sung. They were retired, and the guards and generals, after being offered riches and honor, the guards and generals resigned the next day after that offer. That allowed Emperor Sung to not fear being killed by his guards and generals, unalived. As his guards and generals, with that offering and acceptance of riches and security and honor, they became docile lambs. They took the bait, they became docile lambs, and they were happy. They had their estates, and that's where they lived the rest of their lives. Now, Sung decided to use his enemies. Again, the law was never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. Emperor Sung used his enemies, which were the guards and the generals, the people that would have unalived him if he had not taken control of the situation. He learned how to use his enemies. He made them happy, and in turn, they kept Emperor Sung in power. And this all happened when otherwise it wouldn't have. Emperor Sung learned how to use his enemies, and he did it again. King Lu of Southern Han in 971, they were in war, and eventually Emperor Sung learned how to use his enemy again, which ended that war. And later on, Chen Shu tried assassinating Emperor Sung. Again, Emperor Sung figured out how to learn. He learned about his enemy and used that to his advantage. And that's a big thing. We want to just quickly look back at the interpretation of that observance of how to use enemies. A simple Chinese proverb: friends are like the jaws and teeth of a dangerous animal. If you're not careful, they will chew you up. Emperor Sung, he would have been unalived if he hadn't swooned his cavalry and his future enemies of war and his future assassination attempts. He swooned everyone and won their praise. And what happened here? After Sung used his enemies as reliable subjects, it led to a time of peace in China for 300 years. It's an innovation that Emperor Sung led. And there was no violence in China for 300 years. If he had his friends in power, Emperor Sung, if he employed his friends as the guards and generals, chances are they would have suckled his power and he would have wound up an unalived man. That cycle would have continued of crownings and unalivings. Couple keys to power you want to keep in mind. Don't employ friends. Friends will often be agreeable to avoid arguments, leading you to not know them as well as you think you know them. Honesty rarely strengthens friendships. You will fall victim to flattery in your tastes and interests. Hiring a friend should bring out their hidden qualities or juxtapositions against you, as your act of kindness unbalances everything. This will limit your power. You want to employ your enemies. A person that has something to prove will move mountains for you, much like when Napoleon's foreign minister Talleyrand hired the person that tried assassinating him, Joseph Fouché. The relationship was of mutual interest and not personal feelings. What you want to do, bury the hatchet with your enemy and put him in your service. Without enemies, we grow lazy. Better to know your enemies than to not. someone's conspiring against you, you want to know about their conspiracies. Quick reversal, sometimes you can employ friends. It could be very useful to employ friends. Friends are better hired for dirty work. A friend's affection will make them take chances for you. If the plan fails, then your friend can be used as a scapegoat. This is known as fall of the favorite. This was a common favorite among kings in court, as the public would not believe the sacrifice of a friend for a rather trivial purpose. Employing fall of the favorite guarantees losing your friend. Friends can be effective if they recognize the boundaries and distances that working requires. Never let your guard down when working with a friend. Watch for envy and ingratitude. They can become jealous and ungrateful. Nothing is stable in the world of power. Never put too much trust in friends, and learn how to use enemies. That's Law 2 of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.